What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. If you want to see that daily Ravens content, make sure to subscribe button down below and hit the notification bell as well if you want to get notified every single time I put a brand new video. Now, in this video today, I'm basically going to be analyzing a Pro Football Focus article that talks about the best rosters in the NFL, and they rank all 32 NFL rosters. And I'm going to be talking about what they say about the Ravens, because they had the Ravens ranked as the 9th best roster in the NFL. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I'm just kind of curious. What does everyone in the comment section down below think about this Ravens roster and how it stacks up against not just the rest of the AFC, but the entire NFL? Because the goal of this team is to win the Super Bowl. That's the goal. And so right now they're listed at number 9. In the best rosters, I'll list the top 10, just then you all have an idea. Number 1, Buffalo Bills. Number 2, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Number 3, LA Chargers. Number 4, Los Angeles Rams. Number 5, Philadelphia Eagles. Number 6, Green Bay Packers. Number 7, Cincinnati Bengals. Number 8, Kansas City Chiefs. And number 9, Baltimore Ravens. And 10 is San Francisco. So let's talk about it. First off, they say the biggest strength of the Ravens, I'll read the article really quickly. It's literally 3 paragraphs, so don't worry. It says the biggest strength of the Baltimore Ravens is the Ravens secondary was hit hard by injuries last season, but all signs point toward entering the 2022 season with a deep and flexible group after adding Marcus Williams, Kyle Hamilton, Kyle Fuller, Jalen Armour-Davis, and Demarion Williams. Basically, the Ravens secondary is their strength on their roster. Now, obviously, that's one of the best parts of this team. However, at the same time, I don't think that's this team's biggest strength. I think the biggest strength is quarterback, because that's the most important position on the football team. And Lamar Jackson is, I don't care what you say about Lamar Jackson, you have to respect the fact that he wins football games. You can say whatever you want about him. Stats don't tell the whole story, but like John Harbaugh said, you can't fake wins. Lamar Jackson wins. All right. He's the biggest strength of this team. His leadership, just the way that he plays really inspires everybody around him. And that's why the Ravens have been able to be so good underneath him, is because every time he makes a big play, everyone else feels like they need to make a big play. Lamar Jackson is like, hey, man, can you guys get a turnover? And the defense says, yes, we can get a turnover. We'll get you that football right back no matter what. Everybody has their teammates back on this team because that starts with Lamar Jackson. I think he's the biggest strength of this team. I don't think it's the secondary, even though I think the secondary is very good. Lamar Jackson is without a doubt a strength. The biggest weakness, a wide receiver, it basically is what they say. So I'm not going to disagree with that. I think wide receiver probably is the biggest weakness on this roster, in the sense that it is a question mark. This wide receiver room, I fully expect to be good enough. They don't have to have the best wide receiver room in the NFL for them to have success. They need to have a decent number 1, which I think they do in Rashad Bateman. Then they need to have guys that catch the ball. Right? No drops. And we have Duvernay and Prochet, 2 of the best hands in the NFL. Honestly, they were 2 of the best hands in college football. They came in, and they've been pretty good with that as well. So overall, they know that they have really good hands. And Demarcus Robinson, I think, is a really undervalued signing. And I think a lot of teams are going to start being a little bit worried about, why did the Raiders not keep Demarcus Robinson? Because with Lamar Jackson, he's going to look very good. And also, wide receiver is not the most important position for the Ravens. So when you're looking at roster, you need to put an emphasis on the more important positions for their scheme, right? If you're looking at a team that runs the ball 90% of the time, this isn't the Ravens, but if you look at a team that runs the ball 90% of the time, how important is wide receiver? The Ravens are going to run the ball more than any other team in the NFL. They don't need to have as good of wide receivers as the rest of the league, because they're not doing it as much. What do they have instead? Great run game, great running players. Lamar Jackson, J.K. Gus, Kenyon Drake, Mike Davis, Justice Hill. very solid offensive line. So overall, I think, the biggest weakness, while I think it's true, I think it's not as, I think a bigger like weakness that hurts the overall team is the edge rusher position, and just like, okay, who's going to be the pass rusher because of the injuries the Ravens have had. But overall, it's fine. And then they said that the X factor for 2022 is Patrick Queen because he hasn't graded very well. And first off, I'll say Pro Football Focus hates linebackers. If you don't know, like whenever look up Pro Football Focus, like the highest and lowest graded players, linebackers are always the lowest rated players in the NFL. Always. Pro Football Focus isn't a stat. It is an analysis by a group of, obviously now it's gotten bigger and bigger, but initially it was just people out of Cincinnati. I believe they actually started in with Cincinnati. It's not a stat. It's perception. So overall, when people say that, don't take PFFs as like, oh, well, this guy's a higher PFF grade, he's better. I just wanted to say that because I think a lot of people see PFF and they're like, oh, yeah, this guy higher PFF grade, he's the best. Not true. Just someone's perception of who they think was better. But Patrick Queen, I do think he has struggled. But at the same time, last year he really stepped up, and I can definitely see him as being the X factor on this Ravens team. But I feel like the X factor isn't the middle linebacker. I feel like it has to be an edge rusher. If I'm looking at this roster as a whole, I'm thinking it's one of two players, and there were two players drafted in the first round of the NFL draft last season. It's Rashad Bateman and it's Odafe Oweh. Rashad Bateman on offense, you're looking at him as, okay, you're the number one. When we need to throw the ball, we need you and Andrews to be able to do your thing. That's what we need. Can you do that? If he can do that, this is a scary offense. If he can't do that, this offense isn't going to work. And on the other side of the ball, Odafe, we don't really have much edge rush help, but we definitely need to make some plays. We need some sacks. We need to get Patrick Mahomes. We need to get Josh Allen. We need to get Joe Burrow. We need to get Russell Wilson off this field. Get some pressure. If we're not getting pressure from our best edge rusher that needs to have that kind of breakout season, it's going to be worse. Because the Ravens have been very good with Patrick Queen on defense, even though he's been struggling. But honestly, I'm not expecting him to struggle because of how much better he was at will as opposed to playing the mic. So, overall, I think the Ravens at 9 isn't terrible. It's a little bit higher than I was expecting. I would definitely have them probably above the Bengals just because the Bengals don't really have good corners. I'm sorry to Eli Apple and Mike Hilton and Cheeto Awuzie. They don't really have good corners. They have like a couple of guys that are decent in the front seven. Obviously, they have really good wide receiver, running back, quarterback. Like, that's very good. That's maybe the best in the NFL as like a quartet. But the offensive line is meh. Corners are meh. Defensive line is meh outside of Trey Hendrickson. So, definitely don't think the Bengals should be above them. I was surprised they put the Eagles so high. I don't hate the Eagles being that high. Their defense is like super deep. So like I don't hate it. I don't think Jalen Hurts is that good though. So, he kind of cancels out, but everywhere else they're really set up. But let me know in the comment section down below. Where do you think the Ravens rank in terms of depth charts? How does their roster stack up against the rest of the NFL? Is the 9th best roster in the NFL the best, good enough to win the Super Bowl? Let me know. Thank you everybody for watching. Subscribe for daily Ravens content. I'll see all of you again tomorrow.